The transport panel. The buttons that we have here are your standard play, stop, and record buttons. The play button will play your project from the current position, either in pattern or song mode, and the stop button will end playback and send the playback position to start. You can also double-click the stop button at any time to immediately end playback, even if a sample ends beyond the current time signature. There are no forward or backward buttons because, as you'll see, in the playlist or the piano roll, you can use the mouse cursor to determine the playback position. You can also pause the playback, as the play button will become a pause button as we're playing back. As playback occurs, you'll also notice the position indicator move from left to right across the bottom of the transport panel. This can also be used to find your place in a pattern or song by left-clicking and dragging. Keep an eye on the hint bar to use the numeric value of the current position as you drag. The record button can also be used to record automation, audio, or MIDI data, or a combination of the three. If you left-click the record button, it will become highlighted and a recording wizard will pop up asking you what you want to record. You can choose your options from this screen, and you can right-click the record button and choose which features you want FL Studio to record. We'll talk a little bit more about actual recording as we cover the piano roll and step sequencer, as well as the recording toolbar. On this panel, you also have the option to change the tempo. This is the project tempo and can be adjusted down to a 1/100th of a beat to get precise settings. It can go as low as 10 beats per minute and as high as 999.999 beats per minute. To change the tempo, position your cursor over either the coarse numbers or the fine numbers, left-click, and drag up or down to change the value. You can also right-click on the numbers and choose from some preset standard tempos, or choose tap to tap out the beat you want. There is also an option for twice slower, which comes in handy if you have a sample that's telling you its tempo is, say, 180 beats per minute, but it's actually halftime, so the tempo is 90 beats per minute. This way you can match the tempo while still allowing yourself room to work or see what your track sounds like in halftime. We'll take a closer look at Workspace in the piano roll tutorial. You can also automate the tempo to change at different points throughout the song, or connect it to an internal or external controller to manually move it up or down. You also have the option for Initialize Song with this position. This is something that you can use for most parameters within FL Studio and does exactly what it says. This is a good way to get settings where you want them, so that way if you make any harmful changes to your project, you can always revert back and you don't have to create an automation clip or edit any events. Finally, we have the two most important elements of FL Studio: the song/pattern switch and the pattern selector. These two elements are the heart and soul of what FL Studio is. As mentioned before, FL Studio uses patterns to create loops, then uses a playlist to arrange these patterns into songs. With the pattern selector, you are actually choosing which pattern you want to work on. So to start, we'll load a kick drum and a snare sample. We'll lay them out in a 4 on the floor pattern. So this is pattern 1. Now if I left-click the pattern selector and move the mouse up, I am now on pattern 2. You can also use the plus and minus keys to scroll through patterns. So on pattern 2, I'll just create a snare pattern. So now we have two patterns, pattern 1 and pattern 2. While I created and played back these two patterns, I was in pattern mode. If I switch to song mode and hit play, nothing happens because I haven't arranged these two patterns on the playlist yet. So real quick, I'll go into the playlist and put down pattern 1 and pattern 2. Now, when I hit play in song mode, you'll see the patterns played through the playlist. But if I go back into pattern mode, you'll see FL Studio simply plays the current pattern I have on the screen. Always pay attention to what mode you're in. If something doesn't sound right, make sure you are in the appropriate mode. If you're in song mode and you don't hear any audio, make sure you have the patterns in the playlist. Again, we'll cover this more in depth in a later video. So that's really the basics of the transport panel. You can see that a simple set of controls offers you the ability to fully customize your track right down to 1/100th of a beat. We'll take a closer look at the other toolbars as well and get you on your way to producing music in upcoming tutorials.